Lena and Omar lived in a small sunny house at the edge of a quiet town. The walls were painted soft yellow, and the windows let in warm sunlight that made the living room feel bright and happy. Their 3-month-old baby, Noor, had been a bundle of joy since the day she was born. Today, Noor seemed especially sleepy. Lena held Noor gently in her arms, rocking her back and forth. She hummed a soft, gentle tune that made the baby's eyelids droop slowly. Noor yawned and stretched her tiny arms, her small fingers curling around the air as if trying to grab the warmth of the room. Lena smiled softly, brushing a lock of hair from Noor's forehead. "Sleep well, my little one," she whispered. Raja, the family dog, watched quietly from the corner of the room. He was a golden retriever with soft, fluffy fur and warm brown eyes. Raja had always been gentle with Noor. Since the day she was born, he had watched over her with care and curiosity. His tail wagged slowly and he tilted his head as he watched Lena and Noor. Every tiny sound Noor made, whether a coo or a giggle, made Raja's tail wag faster. Omar sat on the sofa with a book in his hand, but he could not focus. His eyes kept drifting to Lena and Noor. He loved to watch these quiet, peaceful moments. Raja was also a part of this calm scene. He slowly walked closer to the rocking chair and sat down on the soft rug. He lifted his head and looked at Noor with a careful, gentle gaze. It was as if Raja understood that Noor needed comfort and protection. Noor let out a small sigh and closed her eyes for a moment. Lena held her closer and rocked her gently, humming the tune again. The rhythm of Lena's rocking combined with the soft hum made Noor feel safe. Raja moved a little closer, resting his front paws on the edge of the rocking chair. He sniffed softly, making sure everything smelled right and safe. As Noor's breathing became slower and more peaceful, Lena carefully whispered to Omar, "She is finally falling asleep." Omar nodded and smiled. He gently closed his book, not wanting to disturb the calm atmosphere. Raja's eyes followed every movement of Lena and Noor. He shifted slightly, curling his body near the chair, keeping the baby warm with his presence. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of Lena's voice and Noor's breathing. Raja let out a small sigh, a sound that showed he was relaxed but alert at the same time. He seemed to know that Noor's safety was important. Even though Raja was a dog, he understood the need for quiet and calm. Lena noticed Raja's careful attention and smiled. She bent down slightly and patted Raja's head. "Thank you, Raja. You are so gentle with her," she said softly. Raja wagged his tail slowly as if saying he would always protect Noor. Noor stirred a little in her sleep. Her tiny fingers reached out and brushed against Raja's fur. Raja stayed still, letting her touch him. Lena and Omar watched, amazed at the sweet connection forming between the baby and the dog. Raja's golden eyes were full of warmth and Noor's little movements showed trust. Even at 3 months old, Noor seemed to feel Raja's presence. Lena carefully stood up, still holding Noor, and moved toward the crib. Raja followed closely, sniffing the blanket and watching every step. Lena laid Noor gently in the crib, tucking the soft blanket around her. Raja sat beside the crib, resting his head on his paws. His eyes never left Noor. Omar moved closer, quietly watching Raja's careful guarding. He whispered, "It feels like he already knows she is part of the family in a special way." Lena nodded, smiling at the sight. Raja stayed near Noor as she slept. He shifted slightly to make sure he was comfortable but still close. Every few seconds he would lift his head and look at Lena and Omar, as if to check that they were still nearby. Noor's soft breaths and Raja's calm presence filled the room with warmth. In that moment, Lena and Omar realized that Raja was not just a pet. He was becoming Noor's first friend, protector, and companion. As sunlight continued to fall through the windows, Raja rested his head gently near the crib. Noor's tiny hand moved slightly, touching Raja's soft fur. Raja did not move. He remained still, letting her feel safe and cared for. The bond between the baby and the dog had already begun, and it was a bond full of love, trust, and gentle protection. In the quiet of the sunny room, Lena, Omar, Noor, and Raja shared a peaceful moment. It was simple, calm, and full of warmth. Raja had already shown that he would always be there for Noor, watching over her with love and care, making sure she felt safe every single day. Noor slept peacefully in her crib, her tiny chest rising and falling with each soft breath. The blanket around her was warm and cozy, Raja sat nearby, his golden eyes fixed on her. He rested his head gently on the rug beside the crib, making sure he was close but not disturbing her rest. The room was calm, filled with sunlight and the quiet sound of Noor's soft breathing. Lena and Omar quietly sat nearby, watching Raja. Lena whispered, "He is amazing. He seems to know exactly what Noor needs." Omar nodded. "It is like he understands her in a way no one else can," he said softly. Raja's ears twitched as he listened, but his gaze never left Noor. After a while, Noor moved her tiny hand, stretching her fingers slightly. Raja noticed immediately. He lifted his head and leaned a little closer to the crib. His soft, careful movement showed that he wanted to be near her without waking her. Noor's small hand brushed against the edge of the blanket and Raja stayed perfectly still. He let her tiny fingers rest near him, and he gently lowered his head again. It was a quiet moment, but it felt full of connection and love. The sunlight in the room changed as the day moved forward. Rays of light danced across the floor and fell softly on Noor's face. Raja shifted slightly, letting the warm sunlight touch his fur. He closed his eyes for a moment but remained alert. Even in rest, he kept watch. Lena noticed Raja's careful attention and smiled. "He really is her little guardian," she said softly. Omar reached out and patted Raja's back. "She is lucky to have him," he whispered. A soft sound came from the window. The wind rustled the leaves outside, making a gentle scratching noise. Raja immediately lifted his head and listened carefully. He sniffed the air and looked toward the window, his body tense for just a moment. Noor stirred slightly but did not wake up. Raja realized everything was safe and he relaxed again. He returned his gaze to Noor, making sure she remained comfortable and peaceful. Hours passed and Noor slept longer. Raja stayed close, lying near the crib, his golden fur shining in the sunlight. Occasionally, he lifted his head to glance at Lena and Omar, checking if they were still nearby. He wagged his tail softly, a quiet signal of his happiness and calm. Lena leaned over and whispered to Omar, "I think he is more than just a pet. He is part of our family in every way." Omar smiled and nodded, watching Raja carefully. Noor moved again, stretching her tiny arms and yawning softly. Raja noticed and gently rested one of his paws on the edge of the crib, just near her little hand. Noor's fingers reached out and touched his paw. Raja stayed perfectly still, letting her hold it. Lena's heart melted. She whispered, "Look at them. He is already teaching her trust and love." Omar nodded, quietly amazed. Raja shifted slightly to make himself more comfortable, curling near the crib. He rested his chin on the soft rug and kept his eyes on Noor. Her tiny hand continued to move and Raja allowed her to touch his fur. It was a small gesture, but it showed the deep bond forming between them. Raja had already decided that he would always stay close, always protect Noor, and always be her friend. The afternoon sunlight grew warmer as it fell through the windows. Raja gently lifted his head and let out a soft sigh. It was a sigh of contentment, a way of showing that he was happy to be near Noor. Lena and Omar watched quietly, enjoying the peaceful scene. There was a soft happiness in the room, a feeling of love and safety that filled every corner. Even as Noor slept, Raja kept a careful watch. He stayed close, alert, and gentle. His golden eyes were full of warmth and love, and Noor's peaceful breathing reassured him. Lena whispered again, "He is perfect for her. I cannot imagine Noor without Raja." Omar nodded. "They will grow together. He will always be there for her," he said. Raja let his head rest again, curling near the crib like a warm, living pillow. Noor's soft fingers touched his fur once more, and Raja remained perfectly still, careful not to disturb her sleep. The sunlight faded gently into the room, but Raja's presence made everything bright and safe. In that quiet afternoon, Raja had shown his love and loyalty, proving that the bond between a baby and her dog could be full of gentle care and endless warmth. The afternoon sunlight was soft and warm as Noor slept quietly in her crib. Raja stayed near her, his golden fur glowing under the gentle light. He rested his chin on the edge of the crib, his eyes focused on her tiny movements. Every little sigh and tiny stretch from Noor made Raja lift his head to watch more carefully. He seemed to understand that even the smallest movements mattered when caring for someone as small and delicate as Noor. Lena sat on the sofa nearby, holding her hands together and smiling quietly. Omar leaned against the wall, watching Raja with amazement. I never thought a dog could be so gentle, Lena whispered. Omar nodded. He does not just watch her. He seems to understand her feelings, he said softly. Raja tilted his head as if he heard them. His ears twitched slightly, but his gaze never left Noor. Noor shifted a little in her sleep. Her tiny hand moved toward Raja's paw. Raja noticed immediately and gently rested his paw closer to her hand. Noor's fingers touched his soft fur and he remained still, careful not to disturb her. The tiny interaction was so gentle that Lena and Omar could not help but smile. It was as if a silent friendship had begun, one that did not need words to express love and care. Raja shifted slightly to make himself more comfortable but stayed close. He lowered his head to the soft rug, keeping his eyes on Noor. Every few moments he would lift his head and glance at Lena and Omar, making sure they were still near. The room felt warm, calm, and safe. Even the small sounds of the house, the soft ticking of the clock and the quiet hum of the refrigerator, seemed peaceful when Raja was near. Noor moved again, stretching her tiny arms and letting out a soft yawn. Raja noticed and gently placed his paw near her hand again. Noor's tiny fingers curled around his paw and Raja stayed perfectly still. Lena whispered, "Look at him. He is teaching her trust without even knowing it." Omar smiled quietly. "He will always be there for her. I can feel it," he said. Raja's soft eyes seemed to agree. As the sun moved lower in the sky, the light in the room became warmer and more golden. Raja shifted slightly to face Noor more directly. He rested his head on the rug but kept his eyes fixed on her. Noor's breathing was soft and even, and Raja's calm presence seemed to make her sleep even more peaceful. Lena reached out and patted Raja gently. "You are such a good friend to her," she whispered. Raja wagged his tail slowly, showing his happiness. Suddenly, a small sound came from outside the window. A bird chirped loudly and the rustling of leaves filled the quiet room. Raja lifted his head immediately, his ears alert. He sniffed the air and looked toward the window. Noor stirred slightly but did not wake. Raja realized everything was safe and returned his gaze to her. Lena smiled, whispering, "He is always careful, always watching over her." Omar nodded in agreement. Noor shifted again, moving her tiny fingers toward Raja's paw. Raja gently nudged her hand with his nose, letting her feel his warmth. He stayed close, careful, and calm. Lena and Omar watched, feeling their hearts fill with love. Raja's gentle behavior showed that he already understood the responsibility of being Noor's protector. He was more than a pet. He was a loyal friend and guardian. As the afternoon slowly turned into evening, Raja remained by the crib. He rested near Noor, keeping her company and making sure she was comfortable. Noor's tiny movements were calm and slow, and Raja's soft presence gave her a sense of safety. Lena whispered, "I think Raja knows she is our little sunshine. He wants to make sure she is happy." Omar smiled, watching Raja. "He is already part of her world. He will never leave her side," he said. The room was quiet and warm, filled with soft light and the gentle sound of Noor's breathing. Raja rested his head gently on the rug again, keeping one eye on Noor. Even in quiet moments, his loyalty and care were clear. Noor slept peacefully, surrounded by warmth, love, and the gentle presence of her best friend, Raja. It was a quiet, heartwarming scene, one that showed the deep bond between a baby and her dog, a bond built on love, trust, and gentle care. The evening sun cast a warm golden light across the living room. Noor continued to sleep peacefully in her crib, her tiny chest rising and falling with soft, steady breaths. Raja lay nearby, his head resting gently on the rug, his golden eyes watching her every movement. He had stayed by her side all afternoon, never leaving her alone for even a moment. His presence made the room feel calm, safe, and full of warmth. Lena sat quietly on the sofa, her hands folded in her lap. Omar leaned back against the wall, watching Raja with a soft smile. "I cannot believe how gentle he is with her," Lena whispered. "It is like he understands everything she needs without anyone telling him." Omar nodded. "Yes, he has already become her guardian. I have never seen a bond like this before," he said quietly. Raja lifted his head slightly as he listened, but his gaze never left Noor. Noor shifted in her sleep, stretching her tiny arms above her head. Raja noticed immediately. He lifted one paw and gently placed it near her hand. Noor's fingers brushed against his paw, and he stayed perfectly still, letting her touch him. It was a small gesture, but it was full of love and trust. Raja seemed to know that even the smallest interaction mattered to Noor. Lena reached over and patted Raja gently on his back. "You are such a good boy," she whispered. Raja wagged his tail slowly, his eyes never leaving Noor. Omar smiled and leaned forward, watching Raja carefully. "She is lucky to have him. He will always protect her," he said softly. Raja let out a small content sigh as if he understood exactly what Omar meant. The sunlight began to fade slowly, turning the room into soft shades of orange and pink. Raja shifted slightly, moving closer to the crib. He rested his chin on the edge and looked up at Noor with his warm, gentle eyes. Noor's tiny fingers moved again, reaching toward Raja's paw. He nudged her hand softly with his nose, letting her feel his warmth. Lena and Omar watched quietly, amazed at the quiet, beautiful connection between the baby and the dog. After a while, Noor stirred slightly. She made a tiny cooing sound and moved her hand closer to Raja. Raja responded by gently nudging her hand with his nose again. Lena whispered softly, "He is already teaching her trust and love without even knowing it." Omar nodded in agreement. "It is amazing how he can be so calm and careful," he said. Raja wagged his tail slowly as if agreeing with them. The room remained quiet except for the soft sound of Noor's breathing and Raja's occasional sighs. Raja shifted once more to make himself comfortable while staying close to the crib. He rested his head on the rug but kept one eye on Noor. Every few moments he would lift his head and glance at Lena and Omar, making sure they were nearby. It was a silent promise. He would always watch over Noor and keep her safe. Suddenly, Noor's tiny fingers curled around the edge of the blanket. Raja noticed immediately and placed his paw gently on the blanket, careful not to touch her directly. It was a protective gesture, a way to be near her while letting her feel secure. Lena whispered in amazement, "He is perfect for her. I cannot imagine her growing up without him." Omar nodded quietly, his eyes full of admiration for Raja. As the sky outside turned darker, the room filled with the soft glow of the evening light. Raja continued to lie near Noor, his golden fur shining in the warm light. Noor's breathing remained calm, and Raja's soft presence seemed to make her sleep even deeper. Lena and Omar watched the quiet scene, feeling their hearts fill with love and happiness. Raja shifted one last time, curling near the crib and resting his head gently on the rug. Noor's tiny fingers moved slightly again, brushing against his paw. Raja stayed perfectly still, letting her touch him. The room was filled with a quiet, peaceful warmth. The bond between the baby and her dog had grown stronger with every passing hour. Raja had proven that he was more than just a pet. He was a loyal friend, a gentle guardian, and a source of endless love for Noor. In that quiet evening, surrounded by warmth and sunlight fading into soft night, Raja's care and devotion made the room feel safe, happy, and full of love. Noor slept peacefully and Raja remained by her side, showing that even the smallest gestures of love could create the strongest bonds. The soft evening light filled the room, making everything look calm and golden. Noor slept quietly in her crib, wrapped snugly in her blanket. Raja lay near her, his head resting on the rug, watching over her with gentle eyes. He had been by her side all day, and his loyalty had not wavered even for a moment. Every time Noor moved her side, Raja lifted his head and looked at her, ready to respond to her smallest needs. Lena sat on the sofa, her hands resting in her lap. Omar leaned back in his chair, watching Raja quietly. "He is incredible," Lena whispered softly. "I think he already understands Noor better than anyone else." Omar smiled. "Yes, it is like he knows her feelings without anyone telling him," he replied. Raja's ears twitched as he listened, but he did not look away from Noor. His attention was fully on her, as if nothing else in the world mattered. Noor stirred slightly in her sleep, stretching her tiny arms above her head. Raja noticed immediately and shifted closer to the crib. He placed his paw gently near her hand. Noor's fingers brushed against his soft fur, and he stayed perfectly still. Raja's golden eyes were calm and warm, showing his gentle nature. Lena smiled and whispered, "Look at them. He is already her first friend." Omar nodded, feeling the same joy. Suddenly, Noor made a tiny sound, a small coo, as if trying to speak. Raja perked up and tilted his head. He let out a soft whine and nudged her hand gently with his nose. Noor moved her tiny fingers and touched his paw again. Raja stayed perfectly still, letting her explore his soft fur. Lena's heart melted. He is teaching her trust and love without anyone needing to explain, she whispered. Omar smiled, amazed by the silent connection forming between Noor and Raja. The sunlight faded slowly and the room became warm with evening colors. Raja shifted to lie closer to Noor, resting his chin on the edge of the crib. He kept his eyes on her and made sure she remained comfortable. Every small movement from Noor, even a slight stretch or yawn, made Raja respond carefully. He wanted to be near her, protecting her without disturbing her sleep. After a while, Noor moved her tiny hand and touched Raja's soft fur again. Raja nudged her hand gently with his nose and stayed close. Lena leaned over and whispered softly, "He is perfect. Noor will always feel safe with him near." Omar nodded in agreement. "He is more than just a pet. He is part of our family in the most special way," he said. Raja wagged his tail slowly, happy to hear their words, though he already knew his role in the family. A small sound came from the hallway. Raja lifted his head immediately, alert and careful. His ears twitched as he listened, sniffing the air. Noor stirred slightly but did not wake. Raja realized everything was safe and returned to watching her. Lena smiled, feeling proud of Raja's gentle nature. "He is always careful, always protecting her," she said quietly. Omar nodded, still watching Raja closely. Noor stretched her tiny arms again and Raja shifted to place his paw closer to her hand. She curled her fingers around his paw and let out a soft sigh. Raja stayed still, enjoying the quiet moment with her. Lena and Omar watched in awe, seeing the deep bond forming between the baby and the dog. Raja's actions showed that even small gestures, like letting her touch his paw, could bring great comfort and happiness. As the evening grew darker, the room was filled with calm and warmth. Raja lay near Noor, his head resting on the rug and his eyes always on her. Noor's breathing was soft and peaceful, and Raja's gentle presence seemed to make her sleep even deeper. Lena whispered, "He has become her friend and protector already. I am so grateful for him." Omar nodded quietly. "He will always be there no matter what," he said. Raja let out a soft sigh, curling slightly near the crib to stay close to Noor. She moved her tiny fingers again, brushing against his soft fur. Raja stayed still, letting her touch him. The room was quiet, peaceful, and full of love. Raja's loyalty and care had created a safe and happy space for Noor. He had proven that the bond between a baby and a dog could be full of trust, warmth, and endless affection. In that quiet evening, with the soft light fading and the room filled with gentle warmth, Raja's presence made everything feel safe and happy. Noor slept peacefully and Raja stayed right beside her, ready to protect her, comfort her, and love her forever. The room was quiet and warm, with the soft glow of the evening light fading into a gentle twilight. Noor slept in her crib, her tiny chest rising and falling with calm, steady breaths. Raja lay nearby, his golden fur soft and shining in the dim light. His eyes never left Noor, watching her carefully as if he was ready to respond to the smallest movement or sound. Every little sigh from Noor made Raja lift his head and glance at her. Lena sat on the sofa, her hands resting on her lap. Omar leaned against the wall, his eyes fixed on Raja and Noor. "He is extraordinary," Lena whispered softly. "He seems to know exactly what Noor needs." Omar smiled and nodded. "Yes, he is already part of her world in a way that is special. He is her friend and her protector," he said. Raja lifted his ears slightly, listening, but he did not take his eyes off Noor. Noor stirred slightly, stretching her tiny arms and letting out a soft sigh. Raja noticed immediately. He shifted closer to the crib and rested one paw near her hand. Noor's tiny fingers touched his paw, curling around it softly. Raja stayed still, letting her feel his warmth. Lena smiled, leaning toward Omar. "It is amazing how gentle he is. He knows he has to be careful with her," she whispered. Omar nodded quietly, watching Raja with admiration. As the evening grew darker, the room became calm and peaceful. Raja shifted slightly to make himself more comfortable, curling near the crib while still keeping his eyes on Noor. She moved her tiny hand, brushing against his fur, and Raja nudged her hand gently with his nose. It was a small gesture, but it showed the deep bond forming between the baby and her dog. Raja had already decided he would always stay close to Noor, protecting her and comforting her whenever she needed. Lena and Omar watched quietly, smiling at the quiet scene. Raja's gentle actions were so natural that it was hard to believe he was just a dog. He understood Noor's needs and reacted carefully, always making sure she felt safe. Lena whispered, "He is perfect for her. I think Noor will always feel secure with him near." Omar nodded, smiling softly. "He will always be there for her no matter what," he said. Raja wagged his tail slowly as if he already knew. Suddenly, Noor let out a tiny cooing sound. Raja lifted his head immediately and tilted it, his ears alert. She moved her tiny fingers toward him and he gently nudged her hand with his nose. Noor smiled slightly in her sleep, and Raja stayed close, letting her feel his warmth. Lena and Omar exchanged a look, their hearts full of love. The quiet, tender moment showed how strong a bond could be between a baby and her dog. After a few minutes, Noor settled back into her sleep. Raja remained near the crib, his head resting on the rug and his eyes still on her. He occasionally lifted his head to glance at Lena and Omar, as if making sure they were nearby. Raja's gentle presence filled the room with warmth and safety. Noor's soft breathing and Raja's calm energy made the entire space feel peaceful. Lena whispered softly, "It is amazing how patient he is. Even with such a tiny baby, he knows exactly how to behave." Omar nodded. Yes, he understands her in a way that is almost magical. "I feel so lucky that Noor has him," he said. Raja wagged his tail slowly, happy to hear their words but already dedicated to his role. The night outside grew darker, and the room filled with a soft, gentle calm. Raja shifted slightly, curling closer to the crib to stay near Noor. She moved her tiny fingers again, brushing against his soft fur. Raja stayed still, letting her touch him. His golden eyes were warm and caring, full of love and protection. Noor slept peacefully, and Raja's presence made her feel completely safe. In that quiet, gentle evening, surrounded by warmth, love, and calm, Raja's loyalty and care created a safe and happy space for Noor. He was more than just a pet. He was her friend, her protector, and her constant companion. Lena and Omar watched silently, their hearts full of gratitude and happiness. Raja had shown that even the smallest gestures, like a gentle paw or a soft nudge, could bring comfort, trust, and love to a little baby. The night had fully settled and the house was calm and quiet. Noor slept peacefully in her crib, wrapped in her soft blanket. The gentle glow of a small lamp filled the room with warmth. Raja lay close to the crib, his golden fur glowing softly in the light. He had spent the entire day near Noor, watching over her with careful attention. His eyes followed every tiny movement, every soft sigh. Raja seemed to understand that his presence was a source of comfort for her. Lena and Omar sat nearby, quietly enjoying the peaceful scene. Lena whispered, "I cannot believe how gentle he is. He truly cares for her." Omar nodded, smiling softly. "He has become her protector." "I have never seen anything so heartwarming," he said. Raja lifted his ears slightly, alert to every sound, but he never took his eyes off Noor. Noor stirred in her sleep, her tiny hands moving slightly. Raja noticed immediately. He shifted closer to the crib, resting one paw near her hand. Noor's little fingers brushed against his paw, and Raja stayed still, letting her touch him. Lena smiled, whispering softly, "Look at them. They already have a connection that is so strong." Omar nodded in agreement. Raja wagged his tail slowly, showing his quiet happiness. The soft light from the lamp created long shadows across the room. Raja shifted slightly, curling closer to the crib while keeping his head resting on the rug. Noor moved her tiny hands again, and Raja responded by nudging them gently with his nose. It was a small gesture, but it was full of love and protection. Lena and Omar exchanged a look of quiet amazement. They could feel the strength of the bond forming between the baby and the dog. After a few minutes, Noor let out a tiny coo. Raja perked up immediately, tilting his head and watching her carefully. She moved her fingers toward him, and he gently nudged her hand. Noor smiled slightly in her sleep, and Raja stayed close, letting her feel his warmth. Lena whispered softly, "He is teaching her trust without even realizing it." Omar nodded, watching Raja with admiration. "Yes, he knows exactly what to do to make her feel safe," he said. The house was completely still except for the soft sound of Noor's breathing and Raja's gentle sighs. Raja lifted his head from the rug every few minutes to glance at Lena and Omar, as if checking that they were nearby. Then he returned his attention to Noor. His presence filled the room with calm and happiness. Noor's small movements seemed to be guided by Raja's quiet care, and she slept more peacefully because he was near. Suddenly, Noor stirred again and stretched her tiny arms above her head. Raja responded immediately, shifting so that his paw was near her hand. She curled her fingers around it gently and Raja remained still, keeping her safe. Lena reached out and patted Raja gently. "You are such a good friend to her," she whispered. Raja wagged his tail slowly, happy but still focused on Noor. The evening slowly gave way to night and the room became even quieter. Raja rested his head gently on the rug again, keeping his body close to Noor's crib. Her tiny fingers touched his soft fur once more and he stayed perfectly still. Lena and Omar watched silently, their hearts full of love. The bond between Noor and Raja had grown stronger with every passing hour. Raja was not just a pet. He was her protector, her friend, and her comfort. Even as the night went on, Raja stayed by Noor's side. His eyes were soft and caring, full of loyalty and love. Noor slept calmly, surrounded by warmth, light, and the gentle presence of her best friend. Lena whispered, "I cannot imagine her life without him. He has become a part of her world in the most special way." Omar nodded, his eyes fixed on Raja. "Yes, he will always be there for her. She will never feel alone with him around," he said. Raja shifted once more, curling slightly near the crib and let out a small, content sigh. Noor's tiny hand moved against his fur again and he stayed still, letting her feel the warmth of his presence. The room was filled with quiet, tender love. Raja had proven that even the smallest gestures, a gentle paw, a soft nudge, or just being close, could create a bond full of trust, protection, and endless affection. In that peaceful night, with the house quiet and the lamp casting a warm glow, Raja's care and devotion created a safe and happy space for Noor. She slept peacefully, and he remained right beside her, ready to protect, comfort, and love her forever. The morning sun began to peek through the curtains, filling the room with soft golden light. Noor stirred in her crib, stretching her tiny arms and letting out a gentle yawn. Raja, who had stayed by her side all night, lifted his head immediately. His golden eyes were alert and warm, filled with love and care. He wagged his tail softly, happy to see Noor awake and ready for a new day. Lena and Omar had already woken and were quietly watching the scene. Lena whispered, "Look at them. He is already her best friend." Omar smiled. "Yes, he will always be there for her. Raja and Noor have a special bond that will grow stronger every day," he said softly. Raja tilted his head slightly as if he understood exactly what Omar meant. He nudged Noor gently with his nose, letting her know he was nearby. Noor moved her tiny hands and reached toward Raja. He responded immediately, resting his paw gently near her fingers. She touched his soft fur and he stayed perfectly still, letting her explore. Lena laughed softly. "She is so small, yet she already trusts him completely." Omar nodded, smiling quietly. "It is amazing how gentle and careful he is with her. He knows exactly how to behave." Raja wagged his tail slowly, happy to be near Noor. As Noor started to wake more, she let out a small giggle. Raja's ears perked up and he nudged her hand again gently with his nose. She reached out and patted his head softly. Raja leaned closer, careful not to disturb her, and let her touch his soft fur. Lena and Omar exchanged smiles. "I think she already knows he will protect her forever," Lena whispered. Omar nodded, feeling his heart fill with love. Noor's tiny movements grew more energetic as she stretched and kicked her little legs. Raja stayed close, moving slightly to keep near her. He rested his head on the edge of the crib, letting her reach him easily. Noor grabbed his paw gently and looked at him with her big, curious eyes. Raja wagged his tail, his golden eyes full of warmth. It was a quiet, perfect moment between a baby and her dog, filled with love and trust. The room was bright now, filled with the soft sounds of morning. Birds chirped outside and the house seemed full of life. Raja stayed close, his presence comforting Noor. She reached out to touch his ears and he let her, moving only slightly to make her feel safe. Lena whispered softly, "They are inseparable already. I can see a lifetime of friendship and care ahead of them." Omar nodded, his eyes soft. "Yes, Raja has become her little guardian. He will always watch over her." Noor let out a tiny laugh and Raja responded with a soft wag of his tail. Lena and Omar smiled at the pure, gentle bond they were witnessing. Raja's calm presence and loving care had already made Noor feel safe and happy. Even at 3 months old, Noor seemed to know that Raja would always be there for her. Raja leaned closer, resting his paw gently on the edge of the crib, letting her touch him whenever she wanted. As the morning grew brighter, Raja stayed near Noor, letting her explore his soft fur and gently nudging her hand with his nose. The baby and her dog shared small touches and quiet movements that expressed love and trust without a single word. Lena whispered, "It is incredible to see how much love and care he gives her. She is lucky to have him." Omar nodded in agreement. "And he is lucky to have her too. Their bond will only grow stronger every day," he said. Noor smiled, her tiny face full of joy, and Raja wagged his tail slowly. Lena and Omar watched silently, their hearts full of warmth and happiness. The room was filled with quiet laughter, soft touches, and the gentle sounds of a baby and her dog sharing a perfect morning. Raja had proven that he was not just a pet, but a loyal friend, a gentle protector, and a loving companion. In that bright morning, with the sunlight streaming in and the room full of warmth, Raja remained by Noor's side. Her tiny hands touched his fur again and he stayed still, letting her feel his love and protection. The bond between them had grown stronger with every passing day, and it was clear to Lena and Omar that Noor and Raja would always be inseparable. Together they shared a love full of trust, care, and gentle happiness, a bond that would last a lifetime. Noor giggled again, and Raja nudged her hand softly. Lena and Omar smiled, feeling their hearts melt. Raja's loyalty and care had created a safe, happy world for their little girl. Noor's first friendship, built on love and trust, had begun, and everyone in the room knew that Raja would always be her protector and her friend.